Okay.
All right, well, welcome, and thanks to those who are attending or viewing even after the fact, because we are recording this. We are going to start off with the founder ceremony here in a moment. First of all, I would like to acknowledge and celebrate today as D-Day, the bravery and courage of all of our veterans who participated in that very important moment in history. I'd also like to just thank everybody for their willingness to participate in this very strange setup for all of us, new for many, becoming more normal. For me, this space doubles as the gymnastics and fitness area for the kids, classroom, office at times, anything and everything. And that's just something that I think we're all getting used to. And if things go well tonight, this is something we might even make more use of in future events. This event in particular is one that's very important to me and is one of the favorite things that I do get to do every year, recognizing our alumni, doing the founders, remembering our organization. Everything tonight, the speakers, the ceremonies are going to take us through reminders of where we come from, where we are, and where we're going. And I'm very appreciative of the people who are going to be contributing to that this evening. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and head it over to the founder ceremony now. All right. So we have everybody unmuted that we need.
If you're participating, go ahead and unmute yourself. You should have the ability to do that. If you have problems, let me know. I can unmute you.
All right, Sean, whenever you're ready, I think.
Hold on one second. We should be the narrator, right?
First, we need to say the founders' names and light the candles.
Okay, so you want to, okay, there you go. Sorry, getting used to doing this virtually. Yeah. Robert Morrison.
John Wolfe Lindley. Sorry, John McMillan Wilson.
John Wolfe Lindley.
Andrew Watts Rogers.
Ardevan Walker Rogers.
Robert Thompson Drake.
Founders, you may be seated. This evening, we are going to perform the founding ceremony. A similar ceremony was originally delivered by Arthur R. Priest at the Syracuse Convention in 1936. It was immediately recognized as a beautiful expression of the ideas of Phi Delta Theta. Tonight, we'll recreate the founding of our great brotherhood. Picture, if you will, a cold, blustery evening back on December 26, 1848, the day after Christmas. Classes at Miami were recessed for 10 days, but stagecoach travel was slow and uncertain, especially in the winter. Students, hundreds of miles from home, stayed at college, reading, studying, walking in the winter woods. They were drawn together by a shared homelessness in the holiday season. To begin the ceremony, Brother Andrew Watts Rogers will give the reading of the scriptures.
Behold, How good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. Now I beseech you, brethren, that there be no division among you, but that we perfectly are joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment, endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. Be kindly affection to one another with brotherly love. Be perfect, be of one mind, live in peace, and the God of love and peace shall be with you.
When Robert Morrison, John McMillan Wilson, Robert Thompson Drake, John Wolfe Lindley, Artevin Walker Rogers, and Andrew Watts Rogers first met in Wilson's room in Old North Hall on December 26, 1848, there was no Phi Delta Theta. These men were determined, however, to form and establish a college brotherhood, a fraternity based on the friendship of men of like hopes and of similar aspirations. 2 days later, on December 28th, the bond of Phi Delta Theta, which was co-authored by Robert Morrison and John McMillan Wilson, was presented, and on December 30th, it was adopted. The bond at once furnished a sure basis of union and ample material on which to build a ritual. Thus, it is that ritual goes back to those first meetings, to what these 6 young men saw, to a vision they had caught. It was a vision of friendship, of devotion of truth, of endeavor to realize God's likeness in their own lives. Let us today enter the room with the founders, a room in Old North Hall, in which at some time in his life, every Phi should stand. Listen to the warm-hearted Morrison as he talks to them about friendship. Catch the thrill in his voice, looking searchingly into the faces of his fellows. He says,
Men, Wilson and I have been close friends for many months. This is his room. Mine is just below. We are back and forth together much of the time. I know his mind and heart. He knows mine. We are friends. We try to be mutually helpful. There is nothing in the world quite like the congenial friendship of men. At the bottom of every friendship must be mutual respect and affection. Wilson and I believe that we 6 men have such respect and affection, and that our aims in life are motivated by the same high ideals. We invite you, therefore, to join us in mutual pledges. Let us resolve that we will regard each other as true friends with whom we will consult and advise concerning common interest and moral growth. We hope you'll join us.
and now the scholarly Wilson, already spoken of his fellows as old dad, the substantial man who inspires confidence, speaks.
Men, Robert and I, as he has told you, are friends. We want to include you in our circle. We believe that you are with us in our aspirations to accomplish something more than ordinary on the Miami campus. We ask you to resolve with us to strive for a high standard of intellectual character, not seeking merely to learn the lessons assigned each day, but to seek the truth in every department of study, to keep our minds free from prejudice, and at all times to try to make our own mental improvement serve the good of those about us. Are you with us?
To these invitations, John Wolfe Lindley, gracious and gentle, gives ready assent.
I feel that learning is not for the exclusive benefit of the learned, but for the benefits of all mankind. Our purpose is to enjoy life and learning by a sharing of interests and aspirations.
Andrew Watts Rogers speaks next, indicating his approval.
I am with you.
Robert Thompson Drake offers consent as well.
I too support this union of brotherhood.
All look next to Artevin Walker Rogers, who up to this time has said nothing. Noting that the other 5 are showing signs of worry and anxiety, he smiles as he speaks.
I have always been opposed to secret societies, but as this society is not a secret one to me, I like it. I suggest that we also agree to abide by a high standard of personal conduct in accordance with the teachings of our faith as set forth in the Bible, and to admit to our circle no one who does not have such convictions. These ideals should be strong in the hearts of all of us.
They were, and in the dim light of the room, the 6 men clasped hands. The bond was accepted and signed, and a great fraternity was born. Brothers and friends, as Phi Delta Theta proceeds forward, keep in mind those first meetings and the 6 founders in Wilson's room. Try to catch and share their vision and their faith. Remember that these 6 founders had a column of marching men, now more than 270,000 strong.
Thank you, everyone, for participating in that ceremony. I'm going to leave everything going for our future ceremonies. At this moment, I'm going to turn this one over to Taylor Dwyer, the Franklin College Greek life coordinator, among other things, student life related. Very happy with the interactions and relationships that we've had with him over the years, and I'm going to let him speak a little bit about his experiences with all of that.
Thank you, Casey. Thank you for inviting me. I obviously wish we were in person like we were last year, but I appreciate you utilizing technology so we can all still be together. So for those who don't know me, like Casey said, my name is Taylor Dwyer, and I serve as the Director of Student Involvement in Greek Life for Franklin College, and just finished my 4th year here, which is a little weird to think about. I feel like I just started. But in my role, I oversee all of our student organizations on campus, but also specifically advise Greek Life, including our Interfraternity Council and our Panhellenic Council. I also provide one-on-one support to our chapter presidents. So Brandon and I, when we were in person, we're meeting probably about every 2 weeks, and virtually tried to continue those meetings as well. In addition to those roles, I oversee a lot of other stuff, but those are the important ones to focus on today. Casey had asked to give just some brief insight about our community for those of you who are just curious. Currently, our Greek organizations make up approximately 40% of our students at Franklin College, which is really exciting that that percentage has remained constant and steady over the past few years, despite some slight enrollment declines. The fraternity community overall size has slowly grown over each year that I have been at Franklin College, and certainly adding Phi Delta Theta helped with those numbers, and we're excited to have them back. In terms of philanthropy, some positive news. Last year, we raised as a community over $40,000 for philanthropic causes, which was our highest number on record. So I'm pretty proud of our students for being passionate about causes. And despite the COVID-19 pandemic, we continue to find some ways to be together virtually, and recently held a virtual Greek week, which is unlike anything I've ever planned before in my life. But we were still able to come together and participate in live events sort of like this as a community, one of them being a speaker on mental health, and also our virtual Greek Awards, where Brandon won New Member of the Year and Sani actually won Advisor of the Year. So it was exciting to see Phi Delta take home some pretty big awards at that ceremony via Zoom. Some of our community's main areas of focus right now, or when we started the spring semester, were scholarship. We're continuing to find ways to specifically help our fraternity men improve in the area of scholarship. Although our Greek GPA remains above the all men's average, that's a continuous area that we're looking to provide guidance on and improve. Emphasizing ongoing recruitment. Each year, the amount of people that join beyond or like typical recruitment week is growing, and so we want to continue to emphasize that with our chapters. And as we head into the fall, we'll be much more focused on, I think, chapter support and just adapting to our new normal of what this fall semester will or will not look like. Through this past year, I've had the privilege of working with specifically Brandon, but the colony. Expanding a new chapter on a campus our size is an incredibly challenging task, and I'm sure I don't have to tell the men that are a part of the colony that today, but it's really hard, I think, to not only expand anywhere right now, recruiting a generation that I think by nature are anti-joiners, but especially on a campus where we're around less than 1,000 students, it's hard when there's already 4 established chapters. So I commend and applaud the colony's efforts to recruit and become a part of our community. I'm proud of their grit and their hard work, and they continue to work hard to try and market their experience to PNMs. And I believe Phi Delta is striving to provide a member experience that currently does not exist on our campus, emphasizing things like scholarship and academics and leadership is something that I'm impressed and proud of with the colony. With our graduating senior class size, I'm optimistic and believe it is an achievable goal for the colony to be within close proximity of our average chapter size in the fall, pending after a recruitment period, and I'm really excited about that as well. Casey had asked me to expand a little bit on what we're doing right now to support chapters. We actually did a advisor webinar type meeting, very similar to this a week ago. And some of the things we're working on right now are just continuing to support chapter presidents throughout the summer. Right now, the fall is still like a big question mark as to what it's specifically going to look like. And so it would be, I think, irresponsible for me to just tell my chapter presidents like, hey, see you in August, and not like communicate whatsoever. So I'll be continuing that communication with them. We're working on refreshing some of our digital marketing as a community to be more transparent and authentic, creating a new informational booklet for incoming students about expectations, both with financial transparency of what it means to be in a Greek organization, academics and things like that. And we are planning for multiple fall scenarios, creating contingency plans with guidance from the National Panhellenic Conference and the North American Interfraternity Conference, which our IFC is a part of. Another thing we will be doing is giving chapters grace academically as a community. We recognize that this semester is unlike anything that they've ever experienced in their lives. And so no punishments or penalties from us as a college when it comes to chapter GPAs, and continue to provide resources wherever we can. And so there are a lot of free resources out there for chapters through companies like Fired Up, the NIC, and the NPC. And I've been trying to send those along to our chapter presidents as well. But overall, that's just a quick update I have. I'm blessed to do the work that I do, and I love what I do. I came here to work specifically with Greek organizations, and it's been really great to see Phi Delta back. I know it hasn't been an easy journey, and this was probably the weirdest academic year that none of us could have ever anticipated. And so I'm just proud of them for all that they've been able to accomplish in such a short amount of time.
Thank you, Taylor.
Yeah.
I'm going to introduce next our current faculty advisor to the colony, and I'm sharing a slide right now that does recognize her achievement of being selected as the Fraternity Advisor of the Year on campus. I'm also proud to call her a classmate of my own from my time at Franklin, and a Delta Gamma sorority sister of my wife. So when I found out she was on the advisory board with me, I was very happy and excited. So Sonny, it is your turn.
Thank you, Casey. This is my first year as a fraternity advisor, and I've been at Franklin, back at Franklin as an employee since 2017, and I moved into the role of Director of First Year Engagement. I'm also a part of the Center for Student Success, which is basically the office that works on enrollment retention. And the reason I decided to become an advisor, beyond my connection with Phi Delta Theta as a Delta Gamma on campus, really was Brandon. I work with him as a launch mentor or a peer mentor on campus. And he is such a wonderful leader, and I knew that he would be working really hard to get this group to where they wanted them to be. And I couldn't turn down an opportunity to work with him, which is, I'm pretty sure, the reason I got Faculty Advisor of the Year, because of all of Brandon's hard work. So thanks, Brandon, for that. I appreciate it. And I also firmly believe in the mission of Greek Life, and what they do for their members and what they do in service to others. And I wanted to be involved in Greek Life because of my own experiences at Franklin College. I saw Brandon kind of put everything on his back and step up and try to take this group into a new space. I know that It was not an easy job to recruit. I know it wasn't an easy job, especially in the spring, to keep all the guys together. As a matter of fact, as a college, we had to basically come up with an operation we called FC Cares that enlisted faculty and staff members to reach out to every single student on campus on a weekly basis for 6 weeks, just to try to keep them informed, keep them going, keep them motivated. And I know that Greek life helps that connection, and I'm sure they helped each other throughout this really difficult time in the spring. I really appreciate the college's what they decided to do for students, because this was such a difficult semester, and getting students kind of a break academically. No students will be going on probation academically after the semester. So it wasn't just a break in Greek life or in athletics, it was a break overall academically. And I think that being a part of a fraternity, especially one that is such a tight-knit group as Phi Delta Theta, helped our students get through this really challenging time.
All right. Thank you for that and all of the work that you are doing for these guys. Next, I will introduce the president of the colony, who's already been well spoken of. So now we will get to hear from him himself about his experience.
So first, I just want to start off. Thank you, Casey, for organizing this. This is a really cool thing that we're doing, even though maybe participation isn't as much as we'd hoped for. It's still really cool for generations of members to get together in one spot and experience something like this. Casey has asked me to talk about our year overall and some of updates to give you. We had a really successful in total members. We're at 14 right now, but it kind of took us a while to really find our identity as a group. But I thought right before the quarantine hit, we were really starting to figure out how to do things the right way and how to do things our way. And I was really proud to see us come together as a group really in the second semester. Even though it was short, I thought that's really when we found our stride. Something I'm really proud of too is the Greek community overall raised $370 in one day for 100 Black Men of Indianapolis, a group that works with Black youths in the Indianapolis area. And just in one day, less than one day really, the community got $370. And Taylor and I and the other presidents of the chapters have been communicating about that, and that's just a really cool experience and thing that Greek life can bring to this community. It looks like recruitment chair Zach Montgomery and I have been in a lot of talks on what our recruitment week is going to look like. We have a plan A sort of in place, but we have been advised to have a plan B, C, and D because we just don't know what the second semester is going to look like. But if plan A goes to perfection, which I hope so, I think we could have a really big freshman or new member class that could put us definitely in the chapter averages. And something also I wanted to get out there was to the alums that are logged in, I would hope you can spread the word for homecoming. Casey and I had a conversation about that. And this past year, we had a really good turnout for an organization that had only been on campus for 2 months. We had a really strong turnout. And I think if we can have a really strong turnout again this coming October, not only to show the new members that we get in September, but just to show the entire school and the community that we are back and on campus and we are relevant again. I think that shows a really strong message to the importance of Phi Delta to Franklin College, because we are the longest or oldest standing organization at the school. So we're really important to the history. So if you could just spread the word about homecoming, and I would love to see and meet generations of Phis. So that is my biggest takeaway. I thank Sonny for all of the kind words. She makes this job a lot easier. But I have really enjoyed being the president of this colony, and I hope eventually chapter. I don't have specific updates on that installation. There's a lot of things that have to happen and go our way. But I hope to have specifics soon. I will have more after the recruitment period. I'll definitely have a better timeline of what that looks like. Just make sure you follow our social media pages and keep up with Casey's emails. He does a really good job of keeping you guys up to date. And thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Brandon. And I'm looking forward to having Brandon as an alumni volunteer once he graduates next year. Next, we're going to move into our chapter grand memorial service. Fellow Phi Delts know the chapter grand is where we honor those who pass away. The service begins. Brothers and friends, we are gathered here for a sacred ceremony to mourn the loss of hundreds of our departed brothers and to pay honor to men whose memory we shall ever cherish. Many of these brothers have given all they possessed that we might continue to gather together in the spirit of fraternity and to exemplify the teachings of the bond. Their hearts are stilled, their lips are sealed. Life has departed. They are beyond the petty hatreds, jealousies, deceptions, and shortcomings of mortals. They have rejoined our departed brothers, Morrison, Wilson, and all the rest. They have gone forever to the place where separation and death are unknown. From this point on, in the rest of the days of our lives, may we always exemplify the teachings of the bond and live lives worthy of the sacrifices made by those whose death we solemnly mourn today. Brothers, we are all travelers here, just as men before us were. For each man, a brief span of earthly existence and feverish activity abruptly ends. This wreath of flowers reminds us that life is short and that death is certain. It once again serves as a reminder that though many of us gathered here are now in the bloom of youth, all of us before long shall wither and die like flowers of the field. The evergreen, which I hold, is an emblem of our faith in the immortality of the soul. It reminds us that even though we shall take our places beside our departed brothers, yet through our belief in the mercy of God, we may confidently hope that we may enter with them into life triumphant. In coelo quies est, may the souls of our brothers departed through God's mercy rest in peace, and may light perpetual shine upon them. I'm going to share a slide of our most recently passed brothers. Thank you. Okay, next I would like to move right into our Legionnaire ceremonies. For many, this is the highlight of the show every year. Each year, Phi Delta Theta is proud to honor brothers on certain special anniversaries of their initiation into our great brotherhood. The Silver Legion recognizes 25-year members, and the Golden Legion honors 50-year members. The Palladian Legion recognizes our most senior members in 5-year increments, beginning with their 55th year of membership, continuing to their 75th year. Brothers in the bond and friends of Phi Delta Theta, we pause at this moment to do honor to these brothers who are with us this evening and who signed the bond 25 or more years ago. By the same token, we pay homage to the Immortal Six, the founders of our fraternity, the first to affix their signatures to that unaltered covenant to which we have all pledged our sacred word and honor. At this point, I invite Phi Delts to unmute for just a moment as I ask you, what is our open motto? Its translation.
We enjoy life by the health and society of others.
Very well done. Thank you. We have just witnessed a simple ceremony which symbolizes the beacon set by our founders over 156 years ago to guide their own and the steps of their successors to noble living, not only on the paths of the campus, but on the highways of postgraduate life. The ceremony also typifies the rekindling of our loyalty, devotion, and gratitude to those founders whose sense of brotherhood and high ideals found expression in the creation of Phi Delta Theta at Miami University in Oxford, Ohio, on December 26, 1848. We shall never cease to be grateful to these men whose vision was of a friendship originating on the campus, projecting itself into the realities of the world, and making life finer and better for the thousands who would sign the bond. To be a Phi for even a day has its compensations. The satisfactions of membership accumulate with the years. Its influence extends over a life made increasingly richer in culture, in character, and enduring friendships. For some who signed the bond 25, 50, or more years ago, memories of those early days may be somewhat vague, but not without pleasure as they go back through the years to the chapter hall and there reveal the altar before which they took their vows and heard them taken by others, vows which do no violence to their God, their country, or themselves. No man can sit in the presence of silver, golden, and Palladian legionnaires and pretend that membership in Phi Delta Theta is but a campus interlude. Once exposed to the bond, its influence extends over a lifetime. The bond contains a philosophy which, for those who accept it genuinely, makes a life that is full and rich in those things that do not perish. The bond is the warranty which gives Phi Delta Theta its right and its duty to live and to serve young men and old. And it is in the spirit of the bond that I first summoned to this place before us the candidates for Silver Legion. I will do that by sharing the slide. You see here our Silver Legionnaires. I do see on our screen one of these members, Brian McCall. Since we don't have very many people to get through, I would like to invite Brian to unmute and say a couple of things if you'd like.
Thanks for putting me on the spot, Casey.
No problem.
That's all I got, really. I really wish a lot more of my pledge brothers were able to join us today, but I know during these times it's very difficult. I almost didn't make it due to work, so I completely understand. I can't believe it's been 25 years that went by in a instant, and I can't wait to see what the next 25 years brings. So thank you very much for honoring us tonight.
Thank you. You stand before us to be honored as qualified for the Silver Legion of Phi Delta Theta, and to be reminded that you have now passed the halfway point toward the goal of becoming members of the revered Golden Legion. We trust you will continue to be cognizant that Phi Delta Theta is a great and glorious brotherhood, and that this greatness depends on the loyalty and devotion of its members. With this principle firmly in mind, and with the authority vested in me by the General Council of Phi Delta Theta, I am pleased to recognize you as members of the Silver Legion. As a symbol of this recognition, you may be presented with a Silver Legion lapel pin, which we're still working on.
Yay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Casey.
I now summon to this place before us the candidates for the Golden Legion. Those names will be shared on a slide here shortly. This occasion may stimulate memories of another ceremony in which you participated a half-century ago. You will recall that after an arduous and impressive journey, you came to a state of ease, and after taking solemn vows, you were raised to knighthood in the beautiful ceremony of the accolade. During the years since, we have reason to believe you have kept those vows. Therefore, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the General Council, I hereby name the following members of the Golden Legion of Phi Delta Theta, in testimony of which they will be presented with certificates, which have already been mailed out, and lapel pins are something, again, we will work on. These items are saturated with the good wishes of your brothers for long years of health, happiness, and further enjoyment in our beloved fraternity. Phi Delta Theta's newest Golden Legionnaires. Don't think we have any of these guys with us right now. To conclude our ceremony this evening, it is my most sincere honor to now honor before us the candidates for the Palladian Legion. Showing now our 55 and 60-year Palladian Legionnaires. Our 65 and 70-year Palladian Legionnaires. And as far as the accuracy of my list reaches, are 75 and older Legionnaires. It is my privilege to recognize you in the lifetime you have spent in Phi Delta Theta. The fraternity changed on the day you signed the bond those many years ago. And it was a change for the better because you became a part of it. It is our earnest hope that those ever-enduring principles which the founding fathers in their great wisdom planted so securely in the bond, friendship, sound learning, and rectitude, have served you well and kept you steadfast. With these principles firmly in mind, and with the authority vested in me by the General Council of Phi Delta Theta, I am pleased to recognize these members of the Palladian Legion. Brothers in the bond, friends of Phi Delta Theta, please give a final round of applause to all our Legionnaire honorees. Okay, so for the next event right now is our special guest of the evening, the new designee CEO of Phi Delta Theta. He has operated as the COO for many years now. He will be taking over upon Bob Biggs's retirement this month. I first met Sean back in 2006 when we were recolonizing for the first time. And they held for a little pilot program of sorts of a first alumni volunteer summit. Neither one of us can really remember which one it was, House Corporation Cab or something else maybe. They did it in conjunction with the annual Leadership Institute, Leadership College. It's been referred to by various names. Sean and I shared a conversation on a long walk across the Miami University campus from one session to another. And I believe he was Alumni Support Services at that time. And I could tell very quickly that he and I aligned very well on the future of Phi Delta Theta, what it could be, and what its value to the society could be. So when I saw him kind of step up and step up and step up again, I was never surprised and always happy to have him making those moves within the fraternity. So at this time, Sean, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Casey. I appreciate it, and I apologize for not giving you, for everybody's benefit. I had told Casey I was going to look up what conference that was. We had talked this morning. I have a chance to do it, but I did it just as you were queuing me up there. So it was the Chapter Advisory Board Summit in 2007 is when it was, when you were in beautiful Oxford, Ohio, which is my backdrop right behind me, where I'm joining you from live. So yeah, Casey, obviously it's been great to know you. I made a trip to Franklin right around that same time as our director of expansion before I jumped into an alumni services role, and felt at home. I was mentioned to a couple of the guys who were on the call earlier. I did my undergraduate at Widener University, which is a similar size school. The overall enrollment is about 3,000, but we're in the greater Philadelphia area. So the number of students that are on campus is about the same. But Phi Delta Theta is a vast and diverse organization in terms of institutions. And so we're enriched by all different types of schools. And I think I've been to probably about 130 of them in the last 17 years. But it's really great to find that common bond with you all. And Taylor, I have to say, I did a little bit of cyber stalking. That's the benefit of doing this Zoom stuff. Rather than just shake hands, pick up a little bit of information through small talk, you're actually able to find out a little bit of something from somebody. So let me show you something here real quick. Hold on one second, because you and I have something in common. So do you see that behind me, Taylor? See this banner?
Go Norse, yeah.
So I did my undergraduate at Widener, but Taylor and I are fellow NKU Norse. So this is, you guys have no idea what this is.
Yeah.
This is actually us throwing the horns up. We're the Norse or the Vikings. But yeah, I did my graduate work there, and I'm a proud NKU alum. Taylor, I graduated in 2009. I think that's about when you started.
Yeah.
But I'm actually involved. I help raise money for the athletic department through the Go Norse Fund and stuff. It's a great institution. And to bring it back to Franklin, we currently have a colony at NKU, the Kentucky Kappa Colony. So both our young Phis at Northern Kentucky University are pursuing their path to joining the ranks of Phi Delta Theta, as well as everybody at Franklin. So anyways, just small world, absolutely. But anyways, even though I guess it might feel like strange circumstances, it's an absolute pleasure to join everybody tonight. I think obviously there's nothing that replaces human interactions and small talk and shaking hands. But I think what we've found in a very short period of time with the fraternity is that there's a level of convenience that's really nice for things like this, because it's very easy for me to pop in and do something like this for you all, as well as we've done for a lot of other chapters throughout the United States and Canada, as this unfortunately the coronavirus really did hit in March, which is right around our Founders Day, right? Founders Day is March 15th. And so from our perspective, we were forced to kind of pivot very quickly and have a lot of these conversations. And so a lot of these have happened, like this. There's also been a lot of tremendous happy hours or other events that just happen amongst pledge classes and amongst chapter brothers or regional alumni clubs. that really just kind of show the spirit of brotherhood. And so, you know, that's one of these many silver linings that I try to find within what we're currently facing here as a country and as a world. As Casey mentioned, you know, I am entering the role as a CEO come July 1st. I assume some of you have been to the headquarters, considering the close proximity to Franklin. If you haven't, I invite you to be my guest. We just opened up 2 weeks ago, and we're accepting guests. My current joke when it comes to all this stuff and all the Zoom calls that I've been doing is if you've been to the building, you know that we have a portrait of all of our executive vice presidents, all of our CEOs. And so, you know, it's a wonderful thing. And I'm very fortunate to become our 5th executive. But my joke is that, you know, what's going to end up happening is my portrait will be me and framed up like this in a Zoom meeting with probably a mask on. So that's just kind of the world that that I'm entering in here as the new CEO. But you know, it is what it is. So you know, with that being said, when I talked to Casey about what he wanted me to cover, was to kind of talk about the things that we were talking about before the coronavirus happened, and then also touch base on how the fraternity and higher education has kind of reacted to that. And you know, even more so as we've all seen, in addition to the coronavirus, we now have great social unrest too. And so touch on that from a fraternity standpoint. So what I'll tell you largely, you know, before March did occur and the coronavirus changed all of our lives so much, you know, we're in the process of heading towards convention. We're in the process of closing up the completion of our first strategic plan, Fight Out 2020, and then really announcing and launching our new strategic plan, Fight Out 2030. I always joke, you know, we're not too original when it comes to names, but at least people have a general understanding where we're going, right? We completed 2020 and 2020. Now we're headed in the next 10 years. And you know, the thing about the strategic plan, and then what I'm always wanting to share with everybody, is the fraternity is in a great position. You know, basically in 10 years, we were able to bring the overall fraternity growth and the overall size of the organization up to 200 chapters, and that was 14% number of chapters, but 55% growth in overall undergraduate members with nearly 14,000. And the big thing with that we're very proud of, and Casey kind of queued me up. You know, he attended the Emerging Leaders Institute. A number of our members have. You know, what we've done since the strategic plan began was really expand our educational opportunities. We've grown that nearly 86%. Matter of fact, that conference that he went to was about 300 participants in 2007. Now it's over 1,000, because we've really found that the in-person education and the spirit of fraternity is found in applied learning and really personal relationships. And so that does happen through those in-person meetings. But that being said, we've also had great online programming that I'll talk about a little bit more later. The other thing that we've really spent time focusing on from a strategic planning perspective is bringing alumni in to help support our chapters. I know we have a number of advisory board members on this call. Sonny, thank you for your help. You know, we've tripled the number of alums that are involved in chapter affairs. And then alums have also been very supportive in terms of what we've done from a fundraising standpoint. We grew our endowment from $6 million to $20 million. And that's really how we've expanded all those educational programs. Those dollars go to support and build those educational programs. So, you know, did tremendous things through Fight Out 2020. We're queuing up a great Fight Out 2030. We actually started that process 3 years ago in the fall of 2017. And you know, we faced our own crisis, not one that was an existential crisis, but one that was unique to the fraternity industry, and then also Phi Delta Theta. For those of you who might remember, in 2017, there was a tragic death of Tim Piazza at Penn State. There was a couple of other deaths throughout the U.S., and then we lost Max Groover at LSU. And so while we had done tremendous things, and I'm proud to say statistically, up to that point, we were the safest fraternity of them all, we knew we had to do more. And so we were looking at the strategic plan and really thinking about not only how do we make sure that we are the healthy and safest fraternity, we had already done a lot with alcohol free, but when people are going to question the value of fraternity, because that's what happened when there was those acts that were so disjointed from what people and professed fraternity to be, they were saying, why should I join these? Why should I join these organizations? And so what we did was, in looking at this plan, was we really said, we need to kind of retool what we're thinking about. And we need to think about what our value proposition will be for future members. And this was important because we knew going into this new decade that we've now just entered, we knew that there's a new generation of students that are coming, and those students also want to make sure they have maximum value for their experience. Higher education is spreading them very thin, both from a time and money standpoint. And so how's Phi-Delta going to be a value add? And so, when we put together the plan, the thought really was to create a mission statement that is to fulfill the principles of the bond by providing our members a lifetime experience that allows each member to reach their own personal greatness. And our vision is to become the premier fraternal leadership development society in North America. And we're confident that we have a plan to do that. We're going to continue to build the organization. We've had good growth. We'll continue to move forward with that. From a member development perspective, this is probably the greatest differentiator. We've had great educational programming. We've talked about it already here today. But we believe that it shouldn't just be a conference here or an online workshop there, but it should be a comprehensive four-year member development program. So it starts with new member education, and it ends at the end of a 4-year period with a member certification, so that you're actually certified in leadership from the fraternity. And that's based on competencies, education, and also by seeking experiences through a mentor. And so that is something that we're working on. The other thing that I would say is that the beauty of it is that we're seeking a third-party partner to actually provide that endorsement. So like I said, it'd be great if the endorsement or certification was from us, but even be better if it was from someone else. So if it were a university, a trade association, potentially a different type of organization, those are the conversations we're having right now. And I'll talk about a little bit more, but one of the silver linings within COVID-19 has been we've had a chance to work even harder and faster on getting to that point to roll out this program. So it wasn't set to be unveiled until 2023, but we're hopeful that we can unveil it in early 2021. I talked about health and safety. Obviously the loss of Max was a tragic one. We are the only fraternity that has bystander education, and that's giving students the skill set to intervene in situations of sexual assault, alcohol, drugs, or hazing, and that is administered online as well as in person. And then just January, we actually announced a partnership with Rayanne and Steve Groover, who are the parents of Max, and are working with them not only to provide education to battle hazing within our chapters in the fraternity system, but we're also doing it at the high school level, because we acknowledge that hazing is something that starts much earlier than before someone arrives to a college campus. And so from our perspective, if we can have those discussions early on, that's beneficial for everyone. So that's a big step for us. So those are the big efforts from our standpoint. One big thing that is the difference between 2020 and 2030 is that we want to be recognized as a premier fraternal leadership institute. With 2020, we aspired to be it, but without that recognition. And so with that recognition, it comes a lot of engagement that is going to continue to happen with our university partners, with parents, and with the media, to be able to build that coalition of support. And so there's a lot of things that are going to happen. Continue supporting our alums and having our alums be engaged in our efforts. This includes the foundation. We're going to move from a $20 million endowment to a $50 million endowment. And then also have both our undergraduates and our alums join us in supporting ALS and the battle against it. If you haven't heard, we created our own charity called Live Like Lou, which gives us the ability to be able to have concerted effort for chapters to raise money to help battle the disease. But then the other big thing that we're doing isn't just raising money, but we're actually putting students and alumni in the backyards of ALS patients, where able-bodied individuals used to be able to do yard work and now can't. But now we're able to find chapters that are able to help them do things that they haven't done and find out about what it's like to have ALS and to really help save somebody. So that's really incredibly impactful as well. So That's kind of 2020 and where we were going big picture. Like I said, redefine the value proposition, make sure we're going to be relevant in this changing world. Now, that was the changing world before March. We were ramping up for all that before March. And then all of a sudden, obviously, everything flipped. But hopefully, from what you've heard from my standpoint, with a few adjustments, our hope is that the 2030 plan was taking account for online education emerging. It was taking account for retention rates and less freshmen on college campuses happening. Those were all things that we were doing, which is why we were trying to ramp up why it was important to join Phi Delta. Obviously, that's all been expedited. And also there's been some additional changes in terms of just virtual, overall virtual education, overall virtual membership, as well as social distancing and some of these other pieces that, we're trying to keep a close eye on whether that will be long-term implications or if we're just adjusting kind of in the short term. But since March has occurred, in addition to looking at how quickly we can move some of these 2030 things, the other things that we have done have been to try to support our members who are in the most need. So we were very quick to be able to reach out to all of our new members. And I don't know if any of the guys from the colony participated, but we did do a 4-week Phi Chi education program. So there are a number of Phi Chi that had joined in, say, January or February, and in March, they were kind of orphaned, right? They no longer had a chapter to join. And so we actually ran online from Oxford, an online program for all those members, and had about a third of all Phi Chi that were out there participate in it. The other things that we did were for small business owners that were impacted by COVID-19, and we actually built a directory of all the small businesses and restaurants are out there and connected them with other members that are interested in supporting them. And then lastly, all of our graduating seniors who are wanting to participate, they joined us in creating a directory to get them matched up with potential mentors, and also those could help them be hired. And we actually built some great partnerships with companies like TQL and Northwestern Mutual, and are starting to hear some of these great successes of some of these graduating seniors who had their time cut short, that they were actually placed. So that's what we did in the short term. In the long, in kind of the middle term, it's a matter of keeping an eye on the fall. It was already pointed out today. I think Taylor and everybody else at Franklin are preparing for a number of different scenarios. That's what we're doing, but we're doing it at 200 different places. The high flex model is the one that is emerging, as many institutions are very confident in their ability to go back. They're not providing a whole lot of detail. Think about a place like Purdue. Mitch Daniels, former governor of Indiana, was very vocal about going back very early. I think that's great, but all the details are still being sorted out. And what I hear from all my university counterparts is that, that's all kind of being figured out via committee. But the high flex, I think, very much will be some online classes, some in-person classes, a lot of students on campus being purposely socially distanced, et cetera. And so that means eventually fraternities will get figured out. It's this trickle down in decisions, right? Figure out classes, figure out housing, figure out student activities. Eventually we'll figure out fraternities. So in the meantime, what we're trying to do is teach what virtual recruitment could look like, what virtual chapter meetings look like, all those things. The good news is, and hopefully the guys on the chapter, Brandon included, could appreciate this, is that what we've tried to do is never be tethered to rush when it comes to our recruitment. So, the actual physical interaction of people coming around and going from chapter to chapter, that's something that is kind of in the past, and what we've moved forward with is actual relationship building. Now, the challenge is doing that exclusively, from a virtual standpoint, is a bit more of a challenge. But we're confident that we'll be able to get there. And the other thing I would say is, while we've got experts who teach recruitment and are trying to figure this thing out, I know for a fact that our students are going to find innovative ways they're going to teach us about, and then we're going to try to spread like wildfire with the rest of our chapters, so that they understand how these things work most effectively. Because we just are in a new horizon, right? Who would have thought that we were doing a virtual Founders Day 4 months ago? We wouldn't have. But we figure it out, and our goal will be a conduit to be able to share that information. So that's in a nutshell where we are. The obviously the unrest lately is something that is absolutely tragic, and we recognize as a fraternal leader. I think we have a obligation to listen to our members of color, and to start thinking about their experience, both in general as well as a fraternity member, and then thinking about what that looks like from an education standpoint going forward. So we've been reaching out to a lot of those individuals to get input in terms of what those next best steps are, and then I think there'll be some additional education that way, specifically in the space of racial inequity. So largely that's where we are, Casey, and the rest of the group. I would say, as you heard me earlier, even when we were just thinking about 2030, we had our work cut out for us, right? To be able to redefine fraternity, to be able to make sure that when everybody else questions why they should join, that we double down and make sure that they fully understand that we need the assistance of incredible undergraduate leaders. We need the assistance of our university partners. We need the assistance of our alumni. And so there's a lot of ways that you can get engaged. Like I said, I know a lot of people are already on this call, have already done that. But whether it being a mentor, as I mentioned, an advisor, a donor, whatever it might be, we've got a place for you in our future efforts. And so certainly I'd be glad to follow up with you and have a conversation about what that could be if you'd like a part in that. So, but like I said, you should know that the fraternity is in good hands. These are uncertain times, but it's within our DNA to continue to innovate and proceed forward. Certainly we have made it through all sorts of national circumstances before: Civil War, World War I, the Spanish flu, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam, etc. And we've survived by leading with our values, and we're confident we'll be doing that again here as we proceed forward this fall.
Thank you, Sean, for all of that. Very well said, and exactly what I expected to get out of you in that moment. Great leadership at our headquarters right now. I will say that we know our mottos and our other favorite phrases. One man is no man. We enjoy life by the help and society of others. One of the other things that Phi Delta does is market, and marketing is a big key. Every so often, they rebrand a message of sorts that's more public. Right now, become the greatest version of yourself. When they changed to that tagline, I instantly just connected with it, because to me it said they were committed to breaking the idea that fraternity just created copies of one ideal, just one way of being. And here with this message, they say, no, we're about taking you further as who you are. And to me, that's the greatest value I've received out of Phi Delta Theta. And I will even say I've actually gotten more out of Phi Delta Theta as an alumnus by volunteering than I did even in my years as an undergrad. And that's really saying something. So I'd like to thank everybody once again for all of your contributions. It's more than just Phi Delta Theta. It's, Franklin College. It's the thing inside of us that we can't really articulate, yet we understand it instinctively. We knew Franklin College was the right place for us. We knew Phi Delta Theta was the right organization for us. And the bravery and courage of Phi Delta Theta to change the direction of fraternal organizations, change the image, and really embrace the authenticity factor is what really keeps me in it. And being able to pass that on to the undergrads who then are going to enter the world for all of us is something that we should definitely take advantage of that opportunity. I was looking forward to convention like many other people. It's in Pittsburgh, and as a Steelers fan, I have never actually been to Pittsburgh, and I was looking forward to going. I had a great time at the one convention that I did attend before my children were born out in Arizona. And one of the best experiences of being out there was talking to general council members, past and current. And a lot of those have even gone on to become part of the current general council. I remember very well meeting this guy from Pittsburgh who I was just like, yeah, this guy really knows what he's got going on. He's got it all together. And he was putting himself up for election to the general council, and he fell short, even though he had my vote. I knew this guy was going to get on eventually. It just, who knew when? And that is our current general council president, Chris Brisalis. Of course, as fellow Steeler fans, we bonded over that as well. So I was looking forward to getting out there to meet him. So hopefully next year I'll be able to do that. We'll see how everything goes. I do want to make a quick reminder for homecoming, which was mentioned a couple of times. Of course, we don't know exactly what all that's going to look like right now. You have to do the plan A, which is expect the same as last year. We've already committed to the college that we want the same setup. And the House Corporation will be holding an election again, as they did last homecoming. So positions will be available. People can have their voice and even join the board, which we'll keep mentioning through our various communication channels. We'll also hold an alumni meeting there as well, and then just enjoy a day of football, provided that is what occurs at that time. So as things change, we will change ourselves and do our best to make the best plans that we can. So for now, I'm going to close this event officially. I will welcome you to stay on. We'll drop the recording and we can just kind of chat openly for a little bit. And if you have questions about House Corporation, Dennis can address those. If you've got something for me or something for the college folks or Sean, just speak up and let's just enjoy a few minutes of open discussion. Thank you.